For Charlie, I understand this is an early work. It's quite interesting, the way the model is posed, looking down, and I'm quite intrigued by the way the jumper is sort of hunched up around his body. Gives him a vulnerability.
Yes, this painting was actually of my father, and I painted it the year that I moved back home after university. I was at home, and he just wanted to be involved in what I was doing. So I had a studio, I was going to the studio every day, came back and painted him. And this was actually probably the quickest painting I've ever done. This was only 6 or 7 sittings of 1 hour at a time. And I think because he just wanted to be involved, he wasn't putting anything on it, he wasn't demanding anything from it at all. He genuinely just wanted to kind of spend time and sit in a room with me. It meant that I was able to paint him unwittingly, just as a person, rather than as my dad. And, you know, at the same time I was trying to paint a painting of my mother, but for various reasons I wasn't able to see her as a person. You know, I think that took me many more years, and I still don't even know if I'm there. She's still, you know, the God in my mind. And I think with my dad, just because of the way that the whole scenario went, for whatever reasons, for that brief period of time, he just became him as a person, and maybe just was a person who was his age, sitting there in a room with someone. Maybe there is that vulnerability, which I don't normally see in him. And I think it caught us both by surprise, actually, at the same time.
It's interesting, you know, the interaction between the two of you. In fact, it's your father, and in fact there's no eye contact. And you wonder if that's because you're so used to each other's company. You can be quiet, there's no need for conversation, there's a sort of a mutual understanding which goes beyond language. I think it reminds me of Munch's portraits, early portraits of his father, in which there's no eye contact as well. And some people have read that in terms of perhaps tension between father and son, but it could also be, you know, a sort of shared understanding, deeper connection.
I don't think it was a tension. I think there are maybe some people that you would just feel more uncomfortable if you were staring at each other, but more in the sense that that would create tension. And I think that if I was sitting there and my dad was just staring at me deep into my eyes whilst I was painting, because of our relationship and, you know, man-to-man relationship as well, and he's from that generation, I think it would just be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that would almost certainly be the same with Monk as well, that you can feel very comfortable around someone, but some people you just don't look at in the eyes, and some people you do.
Yes.
And my father was definitely not one of them. But yeah, I think painting a family member is just a completely different scenario. I almost put like painting people into 3 categories of the self, others, and then family, because family is an extension of self, but also you don't see them as people. They are so much greater or less, or whatever you want to call it. They're just not normal humans in a way. They mean so much more, or something different to you. So that's why I was surprised by this painting, because it actually came out almost as a person, as him being vulnerable, and just as a normal human in a way, which I wasn't expecting. Because I do think that if you are sitting in a room with someone trying to paint them, it's like Giacometti's early pictures of his dad. I know he carried on for the rest of his life painting his mum, and his mum stayed as this idol. But with his dad, you could literally see him like scraping away, trying to get it to be his dad, trying to get there. And I just think he failed every time with the pictures of his dad. I think the mum worked because he wasn't seeing her as a person. He was seeing her as this god. He was painting these Egyptian goddesses, so she carried on working. But the ones of his dad, I just never really got much from, because I think he was unable to see beyond that and see them as this, I don't know, I think it was confused the whole time. And that's why I have not gone anywhere near trying to paint my parents again, because I think it's still quite some time before I get to that point.
Interesting.